Hi everyone, welcome to Guidewire Connections Reimagined. I'm Rob Wentling, I'm with USAA. This is our third segment with Guidewire. I'm accountable for USAA's P&C Modernization effort. And a little fun fact about me is during the day, we spend a lot of hours thinking and planning and modernizing. And what I like to do in the evenings is use my hands and do some woodworking. And what's really helpful with woodworking is there's always this adage about measuring twice, cut once. So from a modernization perspective, we make sure we measure twice and cut once. So with that said, I'd like to introduce my partner, Aaron Bend.
Hi, everyone. This is Aaron Bend. I've been at USAA 15 years, and I'm the P&C lead for modernization, representing our IT teams. So Rob and I are strong partners in delivering on modernization together. And prior to joining USAA, I was an Air Force officer, went to the Air Force Academy, and had some unique experiences flying different kinds of aircraft. And so I've soloed in a glider. I've flown a World War II era trainer, a PT-17, and done some acrobatics. So had a lot of fun with flying as a hobby.
Well, for those of you that may not be familiar with USAA, is we are a member mission-based organization. So today there are approximately 60 million individuals out there that will qualify to become a member with USAA. And really what we look to do is to become the provider of choice for the military family. What's very unique coming in June of 2022, that will be our 100th anniversary. So with that said, a lot of our modernization efforts and our mission and our focus on our members is really centered around how we're going to stand up and make USA even greater for the next 100 years. So that's really the cornerstone of modernization. So when we think about our mission, we think about the products that we want to advance, we think about the experiences we want our members to have, and we think about the pricing in which we want to offer them, really feeds the way in which we are driving and planning our program kind of going forward. So today we have approximately 13 million members. We have 36,000 employees, and we write about $23 billion in direct written premium. And when you look across the USA community, both internally and externally, is our members, our mission, and our standard are number one. So with that said, my partner, Aaron, served in the military, and he's been with USA for 15 years. I'd like to give him an opportunity to expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I reflect on my experience with USAA, and it actually started as a cadet at the Air Force Academy. As I left the military and looked for different companies to go to, USAA really stood out. They stood out because they have core values that ultimately align with many of our military core values. And on top of that, they were a mission-driven company rather than totally just bottom line focused. This is something that the company truly believes in and operates by, and that's what's kept me there for 15 years.
At USA, we talk about the mission quite often, and they're just not words. We live the mission every single day. So if you've ever had the opportunity to be in a USA building on a Friday, you will notice virtually everybody wears a red shirt, and red stands for remembering everyone deployed. So with that said, we also have other traditions, and as you can see, both Aaron and I are wearing a purple shirt, and maybe Aaron, you can tell our audience a little bit more about why we're wearing a purple shirt today.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Right, we want to try to make sure that we honor our military wherever we can, and we're filming this in April for the May conference, but here in April, it's actually the month of the military child. And the reality is military children do go through quite a bit in being part of the family unit that is in service to the country. And so we honor them today with wearing purple in their memory.
And I like to say, Aaron, thank you so much for your service to the country and to USAA.
My pleasure.
So as I mentioned earlier, this is the third USAA session. For those of you that were able to join the first two, the first one was essentially an overview of our P&C modernization efforts. Our second session went deeper into SBI, our small business insurance product. And now today, Aaron and I are going to talk a lot more about our planning, our learnings, and provide some insight and advice to all of you when it comes to leading these very, very large modernization efforts. And so with that said, Aaron, would you like to maybe expound on that a little bit and share a little more insight?
Yeah, Rob, so I couldn't agree more. This modernization initiative was started to ensure that we achieve those capabilities of the future and those products, like you said, to serve more member needs. Today, there's member needs that we're not quite serving yet, and we see that opportunity, and we're pursuing it through this modernization journey. So we like to say that this modernization initiative is not just about replacing old systems with new systems, but really about positioning our insurance division for the future.
You are so spot on that it's just not about replacing systems. There's really 5 reasons why we're modernizing. One, obviously, being a leading technology company and partnering with industry-leading vendors like Guidewire. But two, employee enablement. We are enabling our employees to work in a scaled, agile way, being able to work with the latest technology, being able to test in an environment that is very unique from a mainframe based admin systems. And then thirdly, compliance. The way in which our modernization effort is going to improve the compliance landscape within USAA is absolutely incredible. Some of the automated controls we're putting into place are industry leading. Member expectations, that's also another reason. And as we think about COVID and we think about the acceleration of self-service and how we need to take the empathy that we have over the phone when we talk to members and translate that into digital empathy, very uniquely tailored to our members, is critical for us, which leads to lastly being competitive. Our members deserve the most competitive industry leading products out there. So when you put all of that together, that's really why we're modernizing. So USAA's P&C business started modernization in early 2018. As I mentioned, I've been at USAA for 3 years, so I started April of 3 years ago. I think I was probably employee number 7 or 8, and my partner Aaron was employee number 1 in modernization. And in 2018, it was very much a planning year. We had a relative budget. We had an idea of what we wanted to modernize, had a relative perspective on timing, but really what we needed to do is put all of the pieces together. So, for example, we know we needed to replace our policy admin system and both the member and our insurance professional experiences. We know we needed to do the same in claims. We also realized we were going to modernize our agency business as well, in addition to like support areas, finance and billing and documents management. And then all of that, is built upon a data foundation. So really, going back to 2018, is we made some very important decisions. One was around, do we build this? Do we buy it? Do we partner? Then two, as we were building the team, you can think of building in an agile way, or you can build a team centered around a waterfall approach. And we absolutely indexed on agile. Yes, there are parts of the project that have a much more waterfall approach, but our layered agile environment and the accountabilities that we created were so important. And then when you pick people on a modernization effort, we did it in a very kind of matrixed environment. And let me explain exactly what that means. So for example, even though Aaron and I are accountable for modernization on both the business and IT side, not everybody kind of directly works for us because what's important is one, having joint accountabilities. All our general managers are accountable for modernization as much as I am on the business side, and Aaron has his version of that on the IT side. Our objectives and key results that tree up to the board, we're jointly accountable for those. As we look at different roles across our agile safe structure, we have a business leader and an IT leader. We affectionately call it two in a box. And that is very helpful to ensure the lines of communication are continuously open, objectives are equally shared, and quite honestly, the partnerships that we've developed are so strong that, in fact, I can speak for Aaron and I, either one of us could sit in any meeting and totally cover each other's areas of accountability. Um, so I think the USA culture and common mission, standard, objective alignment is so critically important because as you can imagine, the number of decisions you make in an initiative like this are tremendous. So now that we're in year three, 2018 was planning, 2019 was shifting to execution. 20 and 21 is really kind of scaled execution where we feel a large majority of this work will be done closer to 2025. So maybe with that said, Aaron, I'd like to kind of hear some of your thoughts as well.
You're right. We had to really think about how do we position for scale. We have an aggressive approach, and we have multiple implementations that are being executed in parallel. And so when we started to talk about how we would form a plan around that with all the resources and the ability to execute in parallel, we really went with the scaled agile framework as a basis for how we would organize and how we would set the teams up for success. That really took into account a number of different factors as well. So, Rob talked about the two in a box at a leadership level. That's so important in making sure that there's alignment in terms of what we're trying to accomplish and what the trade offs and balances are in order to execute against those goals. But we also thought about, what are the roles, within deeper execution? How do we decentralize decision making so that we can make decisions more quickly and effectively? And so, we thought about the decision rights framework in that kind of structure. We also thought about our supplier strategy. How would we be able to achieve all of these goals with the resource needs that we had? We really had to work through what is the right balance of engaging suppliers in execution and combination of suppliers in execution to mitigate risk. And then lastly, we really looked at kind of our operating rhythm, so to speak. How do we have the right level of collaboration and partnership, knowing that there's going to be dependencies across a policy administration system, a claim system, the data model, and our ability to really connect to all the integrations internally and externally at the same time. So we made sure that we had the right routines in place to be able to do that at scale, and we've been effective in implementing that full safe structure to make sure that we can deliver with clarity and with greater precision.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that. So we did share a little bit about how we're doing the work and how we partner across organizational boundaries, but even the individual leaders on modernization come from different backgrounds. You've heard about Aaron's 15 years in the Air Force and all the experiences that he brings. I spent my career in the private sector across four different Fortune 100 companies involved in many types of transformations. And daily, we share different experiences and different perspectives. And you can rinse and repeat this model all across modernization. We have well over 1,000 people engaged and mixes from military backgrounds to doing modernizations slash transformations in other parts of the industry. We have a strategic advisor with PwC that helps us based on all the experiences they have. And then, as Aaron mentioned, I think we probably have close to 8 vendor relationships that are all supporting us and bringing different perspectives and insights so that we can do this in a way that is effective and efficient.
So today we're talking about some of the things that we did to try to position our modernization journey for success. And one of the areas that we wanted to share as a potential insight is just how we approach the roadmap. There's so many different ways that you can look at a modernization journey like this, and different options that you can pursue to either try to mitigate risk or to pursue value. And one of the things that we did as we were planning this initiative is really looked at how could we attack risk early? How could we find a way to really implement on the platform as quickly as possible and get through some of the critical integrations that were needed for the Guidewire Cloud platform? And so, as we were thinking about new products as well as conversion of our existing products, we actually selected small business insurance as a way to move quickly and to mitigate risk within the roadmap by putting it out in front and really, taking that lean mindset and agile approach to make a small minimum viable product and make sure that we could implement it quickly and then test and learn from there.
We also made the very conscious decision that this would be an isolated, separate team because our small business insurance is a brand new product, a brand new business, and giving them the autonomy to think in their own agile way and not have anyone on that team that's involved with our traditional book of business. And going back to our traditional book of business, member retention is paramount for USAA. And with our industry leading retention rate, the work and the decisions that we're making to ensure there's no disruption with member retention is a level of effort that we want our traditional book teams focused on, and acquiring new products in a very new way in our small business space. That was paramount for that team. So our relationship with Guidewire is so critically important. We are launching, these efforts across policy, small business, and claims together, and ensuring there's success is, as sometimes that we say at USA, it's a no-fail mission. We are going to launch this successfully. So as part of a successful launch, you always find ways to evolve and work together even better. And we all know communication is important. I think I mentioned before, measure twice, cut once. So kind of with that mindset, Aaron, I'd like if you could maybe talk to this audience about the platform team that was stood up.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Happy to. So, we've talked a little bit about the aggressive nature of our plans and our roadmap, working through multiple work streams in parallel. And clearly, that was, an area of opportunity for us in terms of how we were communicating with and working with Guidewire. So, instead of having three different work streams that are independently operating and partnering with Guidewire, we decided to really create a federated model where we have what we call our Guidewire platform team at USAA that works across those independent work streams to make sure that we have the right priorities and the right needs accounted for each program. And at the same time, making sure that USAA is consistently providing a clear communication and one voice in terms of what we need in partnership with Guidewire, and vice versa, right? It helps us disseminate information more effectively from Guidewire to the USAA program teams. And what we've found is that really has helped us streamline communication. That's helped us with being better aligned in terms of the highest priority needs across programs, and really working from one backlog with Guidewire on the things that we need to accomplish together. Well, thanks everyone for the time today. We really hope that today's conversation has been helpful to you. We're probably not the only ones thinking about modernizing insurance systems out there. So we hope that some of our lessons learned and insights will be useful to you. Um, as we close, just want to thank you again for participating. We really appreciate everything that Guidewire has been doing for us as a partner, and with PwC as our strategic advisor. We thank them for this opportunity to really tell our story today. We're really proud of the work that we're doing for our members at USAA, and we look forward to another 100 years of service to our members.
I echo your comments, and yes, on behalf of USA, we're very thankful that you gave us the opportunity to share a little bit about our modernization journey. And with that said, we are available to answer any questions you may have, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.